very excited about this weekend. It's been a short, long season. We weren't able to get on the water until really the second week in April on Mendota this year, so it's been a little bit less water time than usual, but we made the most of the situations that we had, and we've had a mixed bag of racing throughout the season. The good news right now, though, is that I think the team is really coming into its stride right now, which is all you can really hope for, regardless of what happens before the Big Ten Championships. So we're excited to go and race at our very best, and that's been our motto since the first day of the season. Our goal was to get to Big Tens and race at our very best, and that's our mission, that's our goal, and we're really looking forward to the opportunity to throw it down.
Can you handicap the field a little bit? Who's been good this year in the Big Ten? Where do you guys fit in? And how the league itself has done nationally, because that makes a big impact on NCAA selections.
Absolutely. I think it's been a mixed bag this year. There's been a lot of variety of results. I just got off the pre-regatta call, and there was some contested seeds. The coaches do the seeding, and so because there are so many discrepancies in results, somebody beats somebody who then loses to somebody who lost to somebody who beat somebody, and that's the way it's done in rowing, because times aren't really relevant from venue to venue. So it really is who you beat and when you beat them. And so I would say right now the rankings are at the top. The top two are Ohio State and Michigan, not necessarily in that order. The next group is probably Rutgers, Iowa, and Indiana, not necessarily in that order. And then Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan State are trailing coming into this regatta. But what makes this regatta fabulous is that the seeding doesn't really matter because there are no heats here. It's one and done. So you're a little further away from the center of the course if you're seated lower. And each boat is seated on its own, but it doesn't really matter where you are at Indy and in a final only. So we're not worried about the seed.
I know it doesn't really matter because you have to deal with whatever it is, but what's the weather forecast for Sunday?
I don't even want to answer that question, I don't think, because it's been changing dramatically day to day to day. So we talked about that too. We have a 24-hour window. We have to have racing finished by Sunday night in order to get seeds into the NCAA committee. So I think our latest finish time would be like 4 p.m. We are usually done by 11 a.m. So we have that window. If things look horrible, we can always move it to Saturday if we have to, although that definitely would not help us as we're in finals and only a couple of other schools are. Most of the other schools have been out for at least a week, so that puts us at a definite disadvantage. So we want to, we'd much rather go Sunday than Saturday.
Kind of generically again, but what have you learned about this team this spring?
Well, this team has been through a lot over the course of the last 4 years. Looking at our seniors, and we have a big senior class. I think we have 14 seniors this year. They came in during COVID, so they didn't get. We were shut down literally the last day of our indoor training, so 2 months of training indoors on the erg. Getting ready to go down to spring break, and the day before we left, we had to shut down. So they lost that entire season. And then the next season, we were pretty severely handicapped by how we could train. We weren't allowed to have walk-ons that year, which is really a staple of our program, which we knew would be a challenge in subsequent years, and it has been for us. So our seniors, through all of those things, have really stuck with the program and been, every year they've gotten better, which is what you hope, but that's not always the case. Every year they've gotten better. Every year they've gained in leadership qualities. And this year, I think it's one of the best teams I've had since I've been here, and this is my 19th year. And in large part to those seniors really stepping up, putting aside their own stuff, and truly being here for the team. So when all is said and done, this is a stellar team. We may have had faster groups in the past. That's yet to be seen. But I wouldn't trade any one of these women for anything. They've been fantastic.
You said, you didn't say sacrifice, but sacrificing seniors. Almost every year, the Big Tens are graduation weekend. How do you guys handle that? Because they obviously will miss the festivities. I'm sure their parents are thrilled every year when that happens. But how do you guys handle that?
It's what we do. That's, to us, I mean, they get to do the celebration in December. So we do that. And so that's their parents come and they do the whole 9 yards there. And we get to go and help celebrate with them. So that takes a little bit of the sting off, but we know it's going to happen that way. And we're lucky when the years align with our graduation timing that they get a week. And so if we get a week between the end of school and Big Tens, they also get to go to graduation. So it just hasn't been that way in the last couple of years. But I think dealing with finals is the real challenge. And you would think seniors don't have many finals, but we've got so many smarty pants in our senior class that, they're getting it all done. They're training really well. We're preparing really well, probably the best that we've trained for a regatta, an upcoming regatta, because they're super focused and dealing with their fatigue really well.
Mick Byrne was in here a bit ago, and he got asked about, it's always a big thing in track, like managing your race schedule and not running too much. Mm-hmm. In rowing, do you taper? Coming into Big Tens, obviously it's at this point the most important meet. Like,
Yep.
How do you train for that?
Well, again, finals puts a wrench in it, so we have to plan around that, and not only for fatigue factor, but also just for timing. We have 9 people that need to be able to be in the boat at the same time, and ideally we keep the practices together. So we keep the 4s together, 4s group, and we keep the 8s group together at this point, if possible. But that's a big challenge, working around that. But it is what it is. It's what we do. It's what we always do, and so it's really not a big deal. We make it not a big. It is a big. I take that back. It is a big deal, but we all work to make it not a big deal.
Just one last one for me. How did the fishing opener go on
Ha!
Saturday morning? I know that changes your practice also
did.
every year.
It did. Thank you for asking. The fishermen were fabulous. So thank you. I know that you're all watching, and I want to say thank you for being such nice fishermen. And we changed our plans a little bit to not be as obnoxious and going 3 or 4 boats across, which is what we would have loved to have done. But we did what we needed to do time trial style, so it was single file, basically. So we all worked together. Plus, it was crappy out, so that helped.
I do have one more, I guess. So most sports, a lot of sports, off-season is the time you get a lot better.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're a basketball player, you go out in your driveway and shoot free throws, whatever. Like rowing, what does that mean, getting better in the off-season? It's not like you're going to, I don't know, what do you do? Is it just erging all summer, or like you not working with your team necessarily?
Right.
How do you get better?
A couple of ways. They can erg all summer. That would be fine. But anything, we want them to be fit athletes. And so if they're not going to, we have a summer camp that we run with the United States Rowing Association, U.S. Rowing. So they have the opportunity to do that. It's open to any college woman around the country. So anybody from any team can come and join that. And that's a racing camp, so we will be racing in mid-July. They can go home to their clubs, and a lot of them do that, and row with their clubs. But we really just want them to be fit and have fun and try to get better at something. So if they're not great runners, do a 10K. Train for a 10K and race a 10K. If you really love riding your bike, do a century. Train for that. So it doesn't have to be rowing. It needs to be something challenging that will move the needle for them. So they'll come back a little bit fitter and stronger.
I think I lied again. One more. Later today, the documentary we talked about last time, it debuts on Big Ten Network. Maybe just a quick review of what that means. Is that a recruiting thing? How? It's a unique thing in rowing. How is that used, I guess? How can you use that to help your program?
Well, I think what I love about this documentary is that it's about Wisconsin, and it's about women, and it's about rowing. So there's so many different components to it that can benefit from the exposure. I think for our team, it just shows that rowing is a real sport. It's really challenging. It's incredibly rewarding. And so for recruiting, especially the kids that have never done it before, that maybe were born to row but haven't had the opportunity to try it yet, it shows them that this is something they could do. And Wisconsin may be the perfect place to do it because it is what we do. So again, just the exposure for Wisconsin. I think there's something about Wisconsin. There's something about Wisconsin rowing with all of the challenges that we have that makes all of those part of what makes us great. And that's hard to explain. It's a lot easier to see in the film. And so that's what's so rewarding to me about this film, is that it shows what we do in a beautiful way that lets people that know nothing about rowing love and appreciate it.